Right. Just a cue, are we live on YouTube?
In just 1 minute.
Perfect.
Yes, we are live now.
All right, thank you. Together, we are Enactus. Namaskar and a very good evening to one and all present here. I am Riya Chaithani and I shall be your host for today. On behalf of Enactus HR College, I welcome you all to the first session of Enaction, an international discussion forum. Today, with us, we have Enactus Nottingham, United Kingdom. As we dive into a discussion of efforts, a conversation of young brains working for a common community from different parts of the world, standing tall to the motto of Enactus. The gleaming faces saying, we believe investing in students who take entrepreneurial action for others, creating a better world for all. I welcome our respected Enactus teacher in charge of the HR College of Commerce and Economics, Mrs. Kanupriya Sharma. I would like to thank Enactus Nottingham for being with us here today. Enactus Nottingham and Enactus HRC have represented their respected countries in the Enactus World Cup, which is indeed a proud moment to mention. We're elated to have you all here. Before we begin, we'll present a short video by both of our teams. Right, so we'll be presenting a short video.
What can we achieve when we come together? What can we achieve when we come together?
We've all seen how communities have come together over the last few months, but for us at Enactus Nottingham, this has always been the ethos of our team.
With our community, we're united in making a difference. Together, we build businesses that drive sustainable social change.
We are Enactus Nottingham.
Enactus is a community of 70,000 plus student leaders spread across 36 countries, spearheading over 5,000 projects, annually impacting almost 2 million lives. This is a global, student-run social entrepreneurship organization comprising young entrepreneurs, academic and business leaders to work towards attaining the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So, what is social entrepreneurship? Social entrepreneurship is an approach by individuals or entrepreneurs in which they develop, fund, and implement solutions to social, cultural, or environmental issues. Enactus HR College is one of the 1,700 plus chapters of Enactus Global, which has impacted more than 30,000 lives in just one single year. Inaugurated in the year 2009, Enactus HR College has established 7 projects over the years. Our first initiative, Project Chirag, was established in 2010 with one vision: to provide light for all. By providing solar lighting to India's rural poor and leveraging the energy of India's youth, Chirag successfully lit up 9 states in India. Through Project Chirag, we also represented India in the prestigious Enactus World Cup in 2012 and secured the 3rd position. In the coming decade, Enactus served as a cradle to more than 6 projects, 2 of which are currently ongoing. Our flagship, Project Inayat, established in March 2018, is a collaboration with an international organization, Days for Girls. Fundamentally, Inayat has 2 aspects. One, making reusable sanitary kits which are stitched by rural women employed from marginalized societies, and second, conducting menstrual hygiene management sessions in underprivileged areas as a step to normalize conversations about menstruation. Consequently, through Project Ajivika, we have been providing a sustained source of employment to the underprivileged by capitalizing on their stitching skills. Up till now, Enactus HR College has impacted more than 1 lakh lives across 7 states in India. At Enactus, we believe that entrepreneurial action for others creates a better world for all of us. A head for business, but a heart for the world. We are Enactus HR College.
Thank you. After the energy these videos have added in the event, I think we're all charged and boosted to submerged into the informational cultural exchange we were aiming at. I'll take a moment to introduce our speakers for today. Omer Samuel, President, Enactus Nottingham, who's a marketing student. Yash Kumar, Vice President, Enactus Nottingham, a management student. Ayan Alisha, Vice President, Enactus HRC, who will now become a third year student of Management Studies. And Ms. Riya Chhajre, Marketing Executive, Enactus HRC, a 2B second year commerce student. The flow of the conversation goes by me asking a question and the narration by Enactus Nottingham, followed by Enactus HRC. We move forward to our questionnaire. My first question to the teams is that there's a very common notion which says that every person associated with Enactus has had their bucket full of memories they carry throughout. In the same order, I would like to ask Enactus Nottingham to throw light on their nostalgic events with the team.
Hi everyone, Yash this side. So overall, I've spent about two and a half years in Enaction so far. I joined 2019 in October. So that was one of the first things I did as soon as I got started with university. So overall, I mean, we've had a lot of wonderful memories. I think the highlight of it all has to be working for the Nationals and the World Cup. So our team has been very fortunate to be in the World Cup for 2 years back to back, which is 2019 and 2020. So I was in the presentation team for 2020, and the highlight has to be working with the entire team. Like, we started literally as strangers and we became like a small family of our own by the time it was done. And starting from just participating in the regionals, having those cocktails of emotions coming up when we were presenting for the first time, and then certainly when COVID just hit us, everything was moved online, and we were just not ready for it. At one instance, we even thought about backing off. We were very happy to not back off back then, because we ended up winning the nationals and ended up in the semifinals of the World Cup. The highlight, however, was the entire journey and not the destination. So yeah.
It was so pleasant to hear. Thank you, Yash. In the same order, we move forward to the Enactus HRC team to speak about their favorite memories from Enactus.
Thank you, Rhea. So firstly, Yash, let me just start by saying that you and I probably have the same Enactus age. Like, even I've been a part of Enactus, working with Enactus for the past two, perhaps 2.5 years, that's what makes me a third year student in college now. So having said that, before I talk about my memories, I have to take liberty to say that this pandemic has robbed me of some of the rather extraordinary experiences that Enactus would have come with. However, that in no way means that I haven't made my fair share of memories. So back in my first year, when things were physical, so in our college, not every club or not every organization gets a room, but Enactus has one. So, the kind of memories that we made there was something that I would still cherish. I mean, faculty in charge, Kanupriya ma'am, is in attendance, so I would not take liberty to say the amount of fun that we had in there. But still, the balance between fun and the work was good, I would say. We worked there, we built our memories, we built the family, and the team, the manner in which the team graduated into a family was something that happened in such a seamless manner that it is only when I look back and it is only when I think that I'm able to realize the same. And coming to more, some other kind of memories or other things that I have attached with Enactus would be that, so what happens is that most of our meetings in Enactus, like be it casual ones, be it GBMs, we tend to have them on Google Meet. So Google Meet has somehow become the Enactus thing for me. Regardless of what I have on Google Meet, be it some work meeting, non-Enactus work meeting, be it some gathering with friends, whenever I am on Google Meet, I feel like, okay, this is Enactus thing. It gives me the Enactus vibes. So those are some of the things that I find associated with Enactus. Now, coming to the more work centric part of things, I feel like the experience has been extraordinary, truly. And the work that we did for Nationals 2020, in which we also happened to come fourth in the Nationals, was also something that I will probably keep with myself for a long time.
Thank you so much, Ayan. So while the time that we were speaking about Google Meet, I could absolutely relate to each word. And I love how this conversation has already taken a flow. We move forward to a very obvious question now that we have already talked about the saddening part. Seeing both of the teams in Actors HRC and in Actors Nottingham, I'm forced to ask that how you make sure that every member is in the best of their capabilities, specifically their mental health, because again teamwork is the very spirit of Enactus. So in these saddening times, how do you make sure that every member is there in the best of their faces?
Yeah, I think I can take this one. So we recently introduced a welfare executive on our executive team to make sure that there is someone very specific who can really take care of the team and the team feels comfortable going to that person. So we think it's just a very important thing that we've been able to introduce. And I think the team have felt a lot more together and more comfortable to bring their any kind of grievances or issues they're facing to us, as opposed to keeping them internal, which I think was very important.
Of course it is. Of course, ensuring the right kind of position for everyone. And likewise, my same question would be for Ria and Ayan. So how do you make sure that in Actors HRC that everyone is in the best of their capabilities?
So, times have been unprecedented, that goes without saying. One thing that's for sure, it'll be very utopian for me to say that it's only professional. It's a perfect balance of professional and personal relations that help us to sail through. For instance, suppose an individual has not been working in my team or in our team in general. So what I do is talk to them on a personal level, text them, get to know what their grievances are, and just make sure that they're in the best mental space to work for the organization and give their best to whatever they're doing. And with a sense of emotional and professional judgment, we just reach the peak and just the peak.
Very true, Ria. I think, except for sharing the same name, we also share the same ideology here. So, which brings me to my next question that technology and social media definitely they have acted as a gimmick. What were the shortcomings that your team faced when the situation was forced to go 100% virtual? How did you ensure maximum marketing strategies and increased revenue at this point of time?
Right, I can go for this. So COVID that way, it's funny. It was a blessing in disguise for us because we never really thought of a way of expanding our business models towards a virtual level. So I'll give an example of one of our projects back in the days. So it's called Codex, Coding with Codex. And the premises is to teach coding, Python to be precise, to people with certain disabilities. And prior to COVID, we had a total base of about 8 students whom we were teaching this to, right? Now COVID hit, we could no longer conduct classes physically. So we had to shift the entire model sort of virtually. Now, what happened when that happened? Obviously, we were shocked because we had no clue about how to conduct it virtually. We had no experience. And certainly it's very difficult to deal with classes of that sort virtually to begin with. However, we soon sort of realized that because we are doing it all virtual, we could do it literally anywhere in the world. So there was no restriction to particularly operate from Nottingham, literally. So as a result, in about a period of 3 months, we had partnerships with national organizations, and the entire user base sort of increased from 8 to about 860. So that was the key highlight of how COVID-19 in general showed Enactus Nottingham a way to sort of tweak the business model and explore new opportunities online. So that was the highlight of what we learned from COVID.
Okay. Very true, Yash. Thank you so much. And the question remains the same for Enactus HRC.
Saying that technology has been our quintessential aid during this pandemic will definitely be an understatement. It's been everything and all things have been online, and that's we have social media to thank for it. Like we've scaled up new heights, be it our social media presence or just collaborating with many organizations. We've done that through social media. We've and thanks to social media that we were able to have this conversation with Enactus Nottingham today. So I think technology during this pandemic has been leveraged to its fullest. So we weren't as weren't as active on our social media before. Like we've reached benchmark followers and benchmark followers on all our pages. So I think technology, and with the pandemic coming in, even the audience switched to technology, which help us get a lot of traction on our pages. So I think it's a good mix of us putting into the technology and it giving back to us. So I think that way pandemic has really helped us.
Correct.
Again,
Absolutely.
Rhea, if I may take a moment here, there's a personal thing that I'd like to share. So I feel like another advantage that at least I feel like most of you would resonate through this is that meetings have become so much easier. Like they've become so much more, but they've also become easier. So I used to find it hard to show up for meetings all this time because of the geographical limitation. You'd have to travel, you'd have to come there, and right after the meeting, you know, you would also have some other commitments. So it is a chance that you might not be able to make it to the meeting. But however, with things becoming online, I feel at least my attendance in an actors meeting has gone up to probably a 95 or 100%. So yeah, that's there.
Absolutely. When you talk about these topographic factors that COVID has, I think that way it has definitely been a blessing. So we move forward to my next question to Enactus Nottingham. So Enactus Nottingham has commercial ventures, it has local projects, and as well as it has international projects going on, to name a few codecs, as Yash just said, NutriGreens and Empower Hub. How is the balance between all of these projects maintained simultaneously going on together?
So one thing we always try and do is to keep our project directors and the executive team very involved with our projects. So this year we actually reduced the number of project directors that we have to make sure that they're all working collaboratively. So we now have fewer, which means they each look after more projects and can make sure that each and every project is maintained to its utmost possibilities. So we just make sure that each project really does work with the other project and each project learns from the other one, because we have our directors. So they can make sure that if there's, for example, a problem another project is facing, the other one knows what to do because another person's already gone through it, which is very good for streamlining our work and making sure that we don't make the same mistakes twice.
Correct. Absolutely, Amir. Thank you so much. So my next question is for Enactus HRC. Ajivika aims to provide employment by focusing on capitalizing on stitching skills. And in Rhea, I would like to request you to brush up with the project Ajivika and also the business acumen that you developed throughout.
Okay, so I believe I'll take this one. Well, let me start by telling a little bit about Project Ajivika. So in Ajivika, we aim to capitalize on the stitching strength of rural women by giving them things to stitch and by also fostering their financial independence. So under Ajivika, we have a myriad of products. We have even implemented the zero waste model under Ajivika, wherein we make sure that most of our products made in Ajivika are the things that have been made from what others consider to be waste. That being said, coming to business acumen, what I would like to mention here is that, so most of the sales per Ajivika that we get, while our other project Inayat sees more of institutional sales, this project Ajivika sees more of individual sales. And when I say individual sales, I'm talking more of social media and personal contacts. So from the conventional setup of Inayat, where we used to contact NGOs, organizations for collaboration, for giant orders, we switched our strategy. So in this process, it was upon me and the entire team, all of us, to think of ways in which this individual sale can be enhanced. And I feel like this contributed significantly to enhancing my personal and even my team's business acumen. And perhaps that would also make us better entrepreneurs in the future. So yeah, that's my take on this.
Absolutely, and I think that's a very great insight that you showed us all here. Thank you. So my next question is again for Enactus Nottingham. We have seen that you have chosen Ghana as your country for Empower. And again, you have a lot many international projects for which you have different dynamics. How do these dynamics and these selection of locations work?
Hi, so it's usually quite interesting. Like in the case of Empower and NutriGreens, which is in Uganda. So how it really worked is that we usually do this needs analysis. But when we do our needs analysis, we also recognize that we need project partners, because there's no way, we do go there like once a year, but there's no way that we can go there every now and then. So we need to maintain a form of contact throughout. And this is where our project partners sort of help. Right? So the problems in like regions around sub-Saharan Africa, the problems in general are quite similar in different regions. So the best way to address these problems is to have a project partner in place and to understand the location and the demographics better. And now obviously we can't do that, but a project partner definitely can. So that project partner is always our point of contact, and we do the work through them. And obviously we go with for partnerships as well. For instance, just as an example, one of the projects that we're currently working on, we're looking at Enactus Ghana. One of the Enactus Ghana teams is one of our partners for that. So yeah, I mean, that's how we usually approach it.
Okay, absolutely, Yash. Just a follow up here. So, just like you said, that you have a point of contact in a particular place, for example, Ghana. So, on what basis do you select the location to be Ghana, or let's just say to be Uganda? What is the parameter for your location selection? Would be my next question.
So, I mean, to answer this, let me give you a brief overview of how a project starts, right? So we start after a few years that some of the existing projects have run, they obviously exit the Enactus portfolio and go beyond it and develop beyond it. So once we do not have enough projects in our portfolio, we usually tend to have like 8 to 10 projects at any given time. And when the number sort of falls, we start innovation teams, wherein we collect a new team just for the purpose of creating new projects. They're called international innovation in the case of international projects. In fact, I joined initially as a member of international innovation. And how it works is we sort of look at what contacts we have in different places. And then we look at the needs of different places and what the team is passionate about in general. Like some people are obviously more passionate about education, some are more passionate about women empowerment and different topics. So once we recognize the need, and once we have like an idea of what partners we have, on the basis of that, we obviously highlight 3 or 4 locations. Once those 3 or 4 locations have been highlighted, we obviously have this cost benefit analysis, where we look at in which of the regions would we be able to run the project the best based on obviously our contacts and the geography and all of those factors included. And that's how we sort of pigeonhole on one of the locations.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. So I think I was satisfied with this one. Thank you, Yash. My next question would be for Enactus HRC again. So in the area of selection of locations, how do you choose your place of impact for the next location drive, the next donation drive that you do every now and then?
So let me throw light on the business model that Inayat works on. So we basically collab on basis of like conducting menstrual hygiene management sessions and sanitary pad distribution. So NGOs reached out to us, and then wherever they are located, we try to cater to them. That's how we select a community, our place of impact, like you said. And for the beneficiary, we've selected Bhiwandi, and the reason being, it's a highly underdeveloped place in terms of socially and educationally. It's underdeveloped. So in that way, we just make sure that we provide employment to people who live there and just uplift the society in general. So that's how we decide on our community and our beneficiaries.
All right, Priya. Thank you so much. So my next question would be Project Empower by Enactus Nottingham and Project Inayat by Enactus HRC converge into the same lines. My next question to both of your teams is how are the operations carried out at Inayat and at Empower? So we first go with Empower and followed by Enactus.
So at the moment, the operations are actually very much working in the UK, mainly about raising awareness and trying to find alternatives for your traditional kind of sanitary products. Their long run view is really to change the perspective on the industry and on the kind of general topic of women's health. And hopefully they'll be able to do that through their education programs and through a product that they will eventually launch.
All right, Amir. Great. So that would be my next question to Inayat. Again, how are the operations carried on?
Okay, so as Rhea has already mentioned, Inayat is basically a twofold model, wherein first we provide education regarding menstrual hygiene management, and the second is the part where we sell or perhaps distribute reusable sanitary kits. So when it comes to operations, so it depends. If we talk about an urban audience, since the urban audience is generally aware, so there the product there since the knowledge is already there, the product would be the thing that would go to them. However, as far as the underprivileged audience go, the information or the awareness precedes the product because it is only after that someone becomes aware of the consequences of not doing the right practices or perhaps using the right products that one can go ahead and take the right choices. So coming to now the hardcore operations, generally for Inayat, most of our, as I've said, that Inayat is mostly about institutional orders. So most of our institutional orders are followed by, or in some cases preceded by, menstrual hygiene management sessions. So once the NGO or perhaps whatever our collaborator is connects us to our audience, the people whom we have to impact, we conduct a session with them. We tell them what menstrual hygiene is, the phenomenon, how it is, a blessing rather than a curse, because in India, the process, the phenomena is still highly stigmatized, sadly enough. So we try to eliminate that. We try to communicate the idea of it being good and a blessing. Thereafter, we try to make them understand the idea of sustainable menstrual hygiene, and then we, perhaps distribute our product. That's the basic way in which we go about it. Now, coming to the prospects of menstrual hygiene, as you asked me in the future. So, very recently, well, not very recently, but about a couple of months back, India hosted the World Sustainability Summit in February, in the second or third week of February. So, and this was once again something, a sustainability summit that was hosted in the peak of a pandemic, a global pandemic. But the quantum of discussions and the talks that took place in the summit regarding sustainability and carbon neutrality, carbon negativity, honestly inspired me. And I feel like the global trends of sustainability and green trends that we have would basically translate to sustainable products, sustainable menstrual hygiene products all throughout. So maybe in the next 5 years, I would be looking at the urban market at least becoming something of only only green product or sustainable product users, and maybe as times become better, as awareness increases, we can also hope the rural audience to catch up. So yeah.
Absolutely, and so that's the kind of positive hope that we can keep ahead. Looking forward to it. Talking about your recruitment drives, Enactus Nottingham's Instagram page talks about departments including marketing, including finance, including operations, public relations, legal, plant science, to name a few. And similarly, Enactus HRC has departments finance, marketing, business development, operations, and a new committee which is on the research of the new project. How is your team structured? Departmental division, and how does it unfold to a project division? What benefit do you reap out of the same? Would be my next question to both the teams.
Right. So we have a very decentralized structure. So obviously we have the different teams, so all the 10 teams, all those 10 teams have their own finance directors. They have their own marketing person. They have their own person for HR and all of those things. And in some cases, like you talked about plant scientists, two of our projects particularly are into more like microbiology and science-based stuff. So for those teams, we need people who have some expertise in those areas as well. So that's for the project specific bit. Now, all of these projects obviously have a project leader. They're the team leaders of each project. And as far as the exec team is concerned, it's mainly me, Omar, and then HR, marketing, finance. And this is single time we have to file a tax returns, right? That's the finance guy helping us with that. And obviously, at other times, they also help the other team with consulting and all of those aspects of things. So it's more like the exec role in general is more like an advisory role, whereas the projects and the team members do the project related stuff. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that definitely does. And that brings me to Enactus HRC for the same question.
So, like you mentioned, we broadly have four departments, that is business development, finance, marketing, and operations. And all the departments work for all our projects. Like all the departments are working for Project Inayat and Ajivika currently. BD looks after the orders that we get and the logistics of it. And marketing has been the game changer this year. It looks after we have one page dedicated to Enactus, and the other two pages that are dedicated to our projects. So that just makes sure, and everything that's been posted on our project specific page gets reposted on our Enactus place, on our Enactus's page. And it also has an organic content that we put out for our audience. And then we also have a finance team like Enactus Nottingham, which looks after the fundings and the finance aspect of all our projects. So that is how we have divided our teams. And then we also have our research team that looks after the new projects research.
So
Absolutely.
before we do move ahead, actually, I do have something to ask to the guest team. So Yash, we at Enactus HRC, we are team or a team or rather a family of 34 individuals. So I was just keen on knowing what is perhaps the size of your team or what is the ideal size that you're looking at getting every year.
Right. So, I mean, just now a lot of the team members actually left because they just graduated. But as of 31st of March 2021, the team was about 150 people.
Oh, that's huge. So, do you guys have a system where a person could just work based upon a task, or do they have to commit for a certain tenure?
No, so it's usually really dependent on what they've signed up for, right? Like somebody who's applied for marketing would obviously be interested in marketing, which is why they've sort of applied for marketing. So that's usually the task. We do have a requirement of like 6 hours a week. So you sort of commit to that 6 hours a week. And but yeah, you can actually leave anytime you want. Like there's no fixed thing. So with regards to that.
So I think we also kind of share a similar structure because even we ask for a commitment of 1 hour per day, which almost comes to 5 hours or 6 hours a week working days. However, here we kind of take volunteers. We have a structure that goes something like we have a core group that's 34 people, as I've already told you, and there's volunteers, people who come in for certain tasks. Like they might not work for all the tasks of a certain department, but they would like work on one and then maybe skip one and then work on the next one. That's like kind of what we follow.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Thank you. So yeah, Ria, we can go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, that was really interesting for me to compare and, parallelize both of the models. So again, which brings me to a part that how does the revenue collection of all these different projects happen for both of your teams? Like when you're doing an international projects, there's surely going to be foreign exchange involved. So do you have a dedicated team to look after that for Enactus Nottingham and for Enactus HRC? How do you manage the revenue part of it?
On our end, we work with external accounting companies to make sure everything is all in order, all done properly in terms of the foreign exchange. There isn't too much of that just because our international operations have kind of quietened down with COVID. But other than that, we just make sure to keep our bank account very ordered, very clean, very up to standard so that everything going forward is very easy to track. Because of course, every year the team changes. So we need to make sure that everything is completely filed properly and just done well. That's the main kind of takeaway for us, that we have to be very structured in the work we do with our finances.
Correct, Amir. And now followed by Enactus HRC.
Yeah, so I think I completely agree with Omar where he said that things need to be structured and everything needs to be clear, straight as a line, which is why even in Enactus, our finance department works almost independently of all other departments, supervised directly by the presidents. We maintain bills, invoices of even the smallest transactions that we make. And since most of our, I should rather use the word all of our projects currently are product based, it's a very direct transaction. Like you sell someone a product, you receive the money, and then an invoice bill perhaps is generated and a record is maintained. This is as simple as it gets, but we try to keep it as clean and as detailed as possible.
Absolutely. That's the very essence of any professional organization. That's what we are here to learn at Enactus. Again, so now that we have talked about finance, we've talked about marketing, we come over to this segment, which is definitely unignorable: collaborations and PR. We know Enactus as an umbrella organization is sponsored by so many organizations, EY, Amazon, that in the UK and in India, Hindustan Unilever, and both of them have, common structures. So, in what way do the corporate sponsors of Enactus aid your team, aid your project?
Right. So every now and then we have these things called grants hosted by our partner teams. And it usually differs, right? It could be anywhere from £1,000 at sometimes to as much as £10,000 with some of our partners. In fact, one of our partners, Ford, has been kind enough to even gift us a truck, which we sort of use for Footprint, which is one of our projects. So how it usually works in our case is that we have this one person in our exec team, the vice president of engagement and engagement officer as well. So these are the main point of contacts from our team for all of the external partners. We have business advisors from these different teams who are always in touch with us. We ask them for advice, suggestions. We run our ideas by them at times, and they've been very helpful so far. And other than that, obviously, we have regular meetings with Enactus UK as well, who connect us with partners generally. So yeah, that's how we operate.
Absolutely. And that's really interesting to hear about. So that question is again forwarded to Enactus HRC.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So I think, as rightly said by Yash, it starts with grants. Like, you get constant updates regarding the upcoming grants, which you're eligible for. You can apply. If you are in compliance to the norms of the grant, you will most probably get one. In India, or perhaps all the Enactus colleges in India would find this common sentiment that KPMG in India, being the primary sponsor of Enactus here, would be the one with which we are closest. Yeah. So aside from grants, we also get individual mentorship sessions once in a while with them, where they guide us regarding our existing projects, be it diversifying within our existing projects, or making new ones. The most significant contribution that these guys give us is not only their suggestion, but also the contacts and the network that they come with. So this is the best part of having a corporate collaborator, which is at such a large level, be it HUL, be it Ford, or be it KPMG. These are multinationals whose wings stretch across not only a country or a continent, but the entire world, in fact. What this translates into for us is that we get to connect to all of these people from different backgrounds, and we're able to network that much better.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ayan. So when you said all of these contacts, all of these grants come out with a lot of network, ultimately it all comes down to the tangible point of networking. While researching for both of your teams, I came across Empire and Unite, and again a likewise project, Reservation and Ajivika. So through Ajivika, the aim is at polishing and equipping rural women with skills that eventually help them to earn a livelihood. And similarly, at Reservation, it also works on skill development. So, I was intrigued to ask you about what common areas would these projects share when you tell me about both of them.
I guess a lot of our projects really work in the sector of empowerment and making people kind of feel as though they're in a society which cares about them, a society which helps them, a society which is going to support them rehabilitate or to get back into kind of the working world. It's also just a case of making sure that the people we work with, the people who we try to empower, don't feel as though we're forcing it on them. They feel as though they're part of our team and not just our kind of project, which is very important. It's just quite important for us to really look at them as the people that are working with us and helping us with our work, as opposed to just the people who are maybe benefiting from it, which I think is quite important.
Absolutely, Omer. Yeah, that would be my question to Enactus HRC about Ajivika.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take that. We're all empowered, and the best thing we can do is to empower others around us. So, through our project Ajivika, we aim at capitalizing the skills of rural women specifically, and that goes down to capitalizing on their stitching skills and making them empowered to make scrunchies, headbands, and tote bags and masks per se. So we are a zero waste business model, and we focus on the 3 R's, and coalescing this, we've created a business model for them which eventually helps them get their livelihoods and make the best of all the resources and their skills, and that is what we call true empowerment in true sense.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think the more we are getting into this conversation, the more I realize that despite we're in different countries, there are so many things that we're able to relate. And I think that is the majesty of working together at Enactus. Before we begin to my next question, I would like people here present, all of our audience, if they have any questions, they can drop it in the chat box to me and we would be happy to entertain all of them. So, now that we have talked about all the current running projects, again, a very obvious question: what are the future prospects that you see for your teams, for the new projects, for everything that you're targeting?
Right, so that's a very interesting question. So we usually have four stages actually for all the projects. That's the innovation stage, the implementation stage, the impact stage, and then the exit stage. So obviously Codex is one of the examples of projects that have recently exited. Same with Harvest Hub. That's another project that has recently exited. Now, if we look at our profile, most of our current projects are actually in the innovation stage. That includes Resurrection, as you mentioned, just a while back. So I think the key for the next 1 or 2 years is going to be to sort of push projects beyond their current levels. So all those that are in the innovation stage, obviously taking them to the implementation stage, and in the case of those in implementation stage, taking them to the impact stage. So that's going to be what we're probably going to be doing for the next 1 or 2 years. And then as more and more projects get into the impact stage or beyond, we're sort of going to start new projects. So getting back to the innovation stage.
Absolutely, Yash. Yes, I am. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so I will take this one. So categorically speaking, I would say that Inayat and Ajivika, both of them are in the impact stage. Having gained a reasonable momentum over the past 2 to 3 years, we believe that this is the right time where the masses are the ones to whom we reach out to using these two channels. These channels whom we've nurtured through the past 2 years, the teens who have been before us have really put their heart and soul into it. And this is the time where we are amplifying the numbers to the largest that it can be before these projects move on to their next stage. As for future prospects of these two, we try to keep innovating. We try to keep bringing that little bit of variability to keep the interest of not only our members but also the community at large. So you see, a year ago, Inayat was only about one standard 250 rupee kit that we sell. Now it's not the same anymore. In the past, I would say 6 to 10 months, which once again have been all about the pandemic, we have made sizable developments in Ajivika and in Inayat. The number of products that have been increased, as well as the new techniques that have been adopted, have been remarkable. Now, and currently, as we speak, Enactus HRC is also looking at starting new projects that perhaps utilize the power of the internet, digital networks, and hit on core areas such as education and skill development. So I think that's what Enactus HRC will really do in the coming months and years, in fact, for that matter.
Absolutely, and I'm elated to hear that, and I'm looking forward to so many new things and a volley of different things coming up. So we have a few questions in the chat box. I'll read them out. How do you conduct internal marketing within your college or university for Enactus? Okay, which is a great question by our faculty advisor, Ma'am Ms. Kanopriya.
Yeah, so we try and work with the different faculties at the university. So we have the business school, we have the economics school, and we try and make sure that we involve them in our marketing and they send out emails. But we've also tried to really diversify the backgrounds of the people that we work with. So we now work with different natural sciences schools and the different kind of law schools even, to make sure that we just get people in from a very wide range of backgrounds, because I think that really does spur creativity and collaboration across the team.
Absolutely, Omer. So a follow-up here. So what support does your college or your university provide to enact these projects to your teams?
Well, the university is actually very generous with us. So we get some money from them sometimes. We're budgeted into their annual budget. And they kind of support us with different things, kind of running different projects, entering for different awards, and just making sure that we get recognized for the work that our projects do.
Absolutely. And I think, that would be a great emotional motivation again. So there's the next question coming forward from our president. What are the most prominent and recurring problems that a developed country like United Kingdom would face?
Right. So I think the kind of problems that are faced are not very different actually. So for instance, footprint, right? So footprint is one of our projects, obviously. The kind of problem they tackle is that of food poverty, which is essentially people not getting enough food to eat, in short, while a lot of food is still getting wasted. So we're very similar in that way, aren't we? And certainly there are other challenges which are environmental challenges as well, which are very similar in nature. So I don't think there are that many differences, to be honest.
Correct. All right. So now that we have moved to almost the conclusion of this event, I would request everyone to please switch on their videos so that our marketing team could take screenshots. And I would also now like to request a president.
Yeah, before we move ahead, actually, I do have the questions for our distinguished
Go
guest
ahead.
speaker.
Please go
So,
ahead.
Yash, Omar, when I think of having an Enactus team in the developed countries, that's perhaps in the Western world, perhaps the United States or United Kingdom, as you guys, I feel like maybe having projects that focus on humanitarian crises, such as perhaps counterfeit medicines or drugs or something along those lines, might also be developed. But like since I'm still a guy who's sitting in India, my opinion would not be as accurate as yours would be. So, what would your take on this be?
I'm sorry, could you just repeat the last part of it? I sort of missed it.
It's just about having Enactus start a project that deals with a humanitarian crisis, such as perhaps counterfeit medicine consumption or counterfeit drug consumption, something like that.
I mean, I'm not really very an expert to speak on this topic, but I think there would be regulations in place which prevent the sale of counterfeit medicines.
Okay, I understand. I was just talking about the prospects of having an Enactus project in a developed country in this field.
Oh no, absolutely. So speaking of that in general, right? So there are a lot of Enactus projects within Enactus UK that are sort of involved in similar projects in obviously different fields. So one of them I think is dealing with electronic waste, and definitely, so there's a very wide variety of projects they're involved in. I think there are about 250 or 300 projects within the UK that are run. So I'm sure, I mean, a few of them would be similar to that in nature.
That's interesting. That's nice.
Absolutely. So again, I would now request Enactus Nottingham if you would have some questions for HRC.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most obvious like questions is like, how are you guys structured? Like, is it like a private limited company or like a public or like an NGO sort of listing? Or and also to add to that, do you guys have insurance to cover you and all those factors? Because that's something we've been working along with in the recent days.
Okay, so I believe I will take that. So for us, and I believe that's common for almost all Enactus colleges across India, we cannot really register Enactus as an entity. It cannot be registered in the government books. Our projects, however, once they move out of Enactus, they can be registered as NGOs, as NPOs, or anything along those lines. Because you see, for Enactus HRC or any other Enactus team, it's a team made of college students. So what happens is that in perhaps 3 years or maximum 4 years, people would graduate and move out. Hence, an entity, and since an entity needs someone attached to it constantly, that commitment cannot be made as per the regulations of the government of India. So what we end up doing is that we are still structured as a chapter of the international organization Enactus that is based out of HR College of Commerce and Economics in Mumbai. Now, what that basically translates is that since even though we don't have a legal NGO status, we almost operate on a similar premises, except for the financial part, which is taken care of by our NGO intermediaries and by our college. That's basically how we are structured, and it is common for all colleges across India.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Thank you.
And how, that just prompts me to ask this, like, how are you guys structured in general?
Right. So we are listed as a company, and we are registered on the company's house. We have to pay the taxes like every year, like any other company would. And obviously, so we have to place ourselves as directors of the company as well. We change every year. Like the new vice president and president become the directors of the company. And so, yeah, we are registered as a company under the name of Enactus Nottingham.
Okay, and they have a provision. The law has a provision that allows directors to constantly change without any legal backlash.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds nice. That sounds great. I think I would wish to have such a structure in India as well. I think we should have something like that. Someday, yes, ma'am is right there in the chat box saying that someday perhaps we would be able to do this.
So, which also makes me ask one thing. So, while you have it like as a registered company, is that a choice or is that a compulsion for all the colleges in the UK?
I think particularly for all the big projects, it's sort of like a compulsion, particularly when you have revenues of, say, over a certain amount, because you are required to pay the taxes necessary. And so the university in general is not directly involved in the day-to-day operations, but sort of more like a support role. So we have the university advisors who have been very helpful, and they play as a support role. So we have meetings with them every now and then, but they're not directly involved in the day-to-day operations of things. That is something solely managed by us. And I think it's similar for a lot of the other projects and universities as well.
Again, perfect. So the projects, we have a question here. So the projects, do they become businesses of the company, like subsidiaries, or are they individually companies?
Right. So go on, Omar.
It depends on the project. So when the project becomes financially sustainable, then we can register it. But before it's financially sustainable, there is no point registering it because they will need to put accounts every year. They will need to do everything legal-wise. So as long as they are not making crazy amounts of money and they don't need their own legal structure, we keep them under our own limited company.
Yeah, again, so this is clearly not indicated by the location. Like if there's an international project or a local project, that would be, that's entirely on the financial part of it.
No, not really. We're all registered in the UK, so we have international operations. However, the kind of, sorry about the background noise. This is a car going around the window. The international operations aren't really related to kind of where we're registered. So we're registered in the UK, but we are allowed to do international operations without kind of registering internationally, if you understand what I mean.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I think we've moved on to the conclusion of this. I would now like to request our president, Smetri Bhatt, to please say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. What an insightful discussion we had today. I can vouch for the fact that each and every person in this audience gained some insight onto how the international community of Enactus works. Like Ayan spoke about how the pandemic has really hampered our ability to network with individuals, I feel the physical experience of Enactus would have provided us this opportunity. But nevertheless, I'm glad that this session happened, and it gives me immense pleasure to extend my vote of thanks to Yash and Omar. And this is on behalf of the entire team of Enactus. We thank you all for this memorable session. We're grateful that you could take time out from your busy schedules and make some time for this. And as much as we enjoyed, I hope that you both also gained some insight onto how Enactus India works. And I hope that we meet each other again, hopefully at the Enactus World Cup this time. And we look forward to hosting your team again. And I wish you all the best for your upcoming initiatives.
Thank you so much, Maitri. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maitri. I would request everyone present in the room to please switch on the video so that we have a screenshot and we have a happy conclusion to our discussion.
Are we done? Marketing team?
Just one more picture.
Sure.
Is it done? Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. It was a great session. We're looking forward to many more sessions ahead. Thank you.